What's your own sense about the ONDC? What is its potential? And in all of this, thousands and millions of startups and so much in e-commerce and even, battles for market share, how significant is the ONDC?
I think, with ONDC in place, definitely there is a lot of opportunity for the startups to get connected to the potential customers throughout India and throughout the world. So I believe that there will be definitely a lot of traction coming in. And, because when we started as a company, so there was no word known as startup, right? So in 2008, it was all about businesses. But now with the government support and with the support of the people who have built the e-commerce industry, I see that there is a lot of potential towards ONDC. If one focus upon it, then they can
Okay.
really thrive and survive. Yes.
Okay. At this stage, let me also extend a very warm welcome to Yashish Dahiya, the Chairman and CEO of PB FinTech. Welcome to the show, Yashish. And by way of introduction, I have something which is of great interest beyond what you have done successfully in business. And I don't know how many of our viewers here would know this. Yashish likes to spend his spare time outdoors and is the current Masters national champion in swimming. And more importantly, and very impressively, is the fifth fastest Ironman from India across all ages. Yashish, I wish I could convert this conversation into a conversation uh, about um, about health, about fitness, but the topic binds me, and the topic really is from idea to IPO. Uh, your own thoughts on this topic, and then maybe we will get you to speak about personal fitness and entrepreneurial goals. You'll have to unmute yourself.
Yeah, so firstly, I must apologize. I have a very poor connection. So some of you will hear only parts of what I say and maybe see very little of me. But I think idea to IPO is part of an early stage of a journey of a company because obviously, you start off with a dream and nobody else believes in it. I think the IPO is, to an extent, a coming of age of that dream where a lot more people start to believe in it. See, today, when you think about any investment, see, why are people worried about crypto but not worried about gold? I think the reason is gold has an established value for a long lot of time. And so people have a lot of agreed value between each other. Whereas in crypto, there isn't an agreed value. So people fear that if the retail investor gets involved, he could lose his shirt. And nobody wants the retail investor to lose their money. So I think the IPO is just a stage of an organization when you can allow the retail investor to start getting involved in the journey of that company. But it is still a fairly early stage, as I would say. So instead of large institutional investors, some retail people also start getting involved.
Many startup founders from a earlier era, and I deliberately say earlier era, around 10 years back, 15 years back, when one would professionally get to meet a lot of founders, including some very large companies now, 20 years back when I started off. Uh, and you realize that family, friends, inherited wealth was the way to go about. And now we hear, see, and get to read stories and meet people where within a year they are talking and sitting across the table with the world's biggest investors, private equity, venture funds, and they get into a complete jargon-driven environment, series, and everything. And if you even look at the way some of these founders talk, it seems it's very different, and one wonders what has changed. Uh, is it just the fact that there are a lot of people looking for a bigger investment opportunity, or is there a fundamental change with respect to the Indian ecosystem?
So, probably I'll take it up in a way what EaseMyTrip has done. So when EaseMyTrip, as I mentioned to you in 2008, we started the company, right? So we have taken the investment from the relatives, right? So I took it from my father. So we took $50,000 almost from my father. right?
Mm.
And we invested that into the company.
Mm.
So, but then the journey is not really to just, do the growth and then probably, get the money out of your pockets and then probably just get the customers to your platform. The journey was probably to multiply that money by multifold times and to use the same money to fuel your growth. Just to give you an example, nowadays a lot of new startups and a lot of new tech companies, they've been doing a lot of losses. And I probably see that there are two things, right? Either you probably concentrate on growth or you probably concentrate on your bottom lines, right? So if I talk about EaseMyTrip, we concentrated on both. So like in last 13 years, we have become second largest. So I think there are ways to be profitable. So one has to be very much captive about what probably the business model they should be working on. And I believe that, while you've been having an investment from the private equities, that's probably one of the teething problems you can solve, but not really the problems which you're going to be solving in your business. So even if you are sitting across the table with any venture capitalist or maybe big private equity funds, or probably once you started small and then you have become grow big and you would want it to grow more scalar, you would want to scale more bigger and bigger, you would need to probably look into a business model. Does your business model really supports the future growth of the company? And I always use the term sustainable growth, right?
Mhm.
So like you probably can have a growth, like for example, if we start giving discounts into the market, we probably may become the leaders of the industry, right? So, but we don't want you to do it that ways, because the
Right.
users generally been coming to our platform and they've been also booking through us, and we're also giving some kind of value added services to them. So in that particular way, you need to have some sustainable growth for your business. And for that, you need to have a perfect business model wherein you also look into your bottom lines and you also look into the top lines. And I believe that, getting a funding is not really the business which you are making, right? So the actual business is what you generally make by giving services
Good
to your
point. Good
customers. How
point
you
there.
probably make your customers
Good
happy.
point there. Getting funding is not the business. The business is to do what you originally said. You see, I come to you. India is considered as the third largest startup ecosystem. Is it because more and more people are taking the risk, taking the plunge because we are in a different India? Is it because you have this massive pool of global liquidity which is sloshing around and wants to find a way and a place? Is it because of that, or is it something else?
See, there are some fundamental things we have to know and believe. Number one, India is amongst the fastest growing large economies in the world. There's no doubt there, right?
Yeah.
We have, a billion plus people, a lot of them in poverty. Poverty has to be alleviated. We cannot live like this. I think 20 years from now, India cannot be the way it is today. That is very clear, right? Now, I think the transformation potential of this size and scale in a single nation does not exist anywhere in the world. What are you going to transform in Europe? What are you going to transform in the US? China is already at I think 4 or 5 times our GDP per capita, right? So they are already out of poverty. If you really think about it, they are already out of poverty. So this transformation potential does not exist. Everybody has seen that during this transformation potential, people make a lot of money. New children are born in every revolution, and new companies will be born in this next 10-15 years when our economy becomes 10 times the size of what it is today. If the economy becomes 10 times the size, please understand the largest organizations of today are only part of that 10% of the economy. Do they have it in them to grow and become that large? Or will that space be occupied by new players? Now, when new players have to occupy that space, they will require disruption. That disruption may or may not require capital. I think there is an approach of what, Rikant has been saying, and I've met his other, brother a few times, and I have a huge amount of respect for them. There is our way, which is a bit of a middle ground, and then there is a very aggressive way, which is with a lot more capital than Rikant or us, right? But I think all three are ways. And I have over time developed the maturity to appreciate all three ways. and say all three of these are possible and all three of them are fine. They're different journeys. But eventually, all of our goal is the same, that in this transformation, we want to, they have this saying, India will transform. Who all will be there at the end of it is the question. And all we are trying to do is make sure we are also part of that revolution. We are not left out in this revolution, right? All of us are trying to do that and be part of the revolution and drive that revolution. See, there are three things here. Be left out of the revolution, be part of the revolution, or actually drive the revolution. I think the best thing to do is drive the revolution, and that's what we are trying to do, right? And I think I don't think the debate about is there too much capital, are there too high valuations, is there wastage of money? If you are going to have that large a transformation, of course there'll be wastage of money. If you're going to have that larger transformation, there will be disruptors.
What you are saying, Yashish, is that if there is such huge potential, there will be a gold rush, there will be euphoria, and in every euphoria, sometimes balances get upended. Is that what you're saying?
And I will say the last thing, sometimes the most irrational players are the winners.
Okay, that's a good one. Expand on that. What kind of irrationality?
Because I'll explain. See, Srikanth has a certain kind of rationality. I have a certain kind of rationality, and somebody else, without naming, may have a third kind of rationality, which may be a very, very high burn rationality. Now, to that third person, Srikanth may seem irrational, and I may seem irrational. To me, that third person may seem irrational. Actually, Srikanth seems quite rational to me, but rational in his limited domain. Right? Their business does not seem like transforming India in a big way. I'm not being demeaning here, right? I'm saying, yeah, they're there. They're participating in this revolution. They're doing well, but they're not. Are they the ones who are transforming the country? I don't know. Huh? Maybe they are, but not the. So sometimes you need irrationality to disrupt because the existing structure already exists. So you need somebody to come in from outside and do it differently. Let me explain one thing. I was recently debating with somebody that the structure of the United Nations should change. They said, if you want to change the United Nations, you can't change it from within. You'll have to start a different United Nations.
Okay.
That's what irrationality is, right?
I get that.
That 20 countries get together, pool in their resources and say, this is our new United Nations. If it can perform better than the United Nations, then one day the United Nations will become redundant. And I think that's what irrationality is about. That you don't follow the lead, the normality of the country or the industry or anything. You do something totally different.
Srikanth, you wanted to come in?
Just add on to here to the conversation which has been having. You're probably right, Mr. Yashish, that we may probably not be doing something to transform the country because we've been focusing on making the people travel from one place to the another. By giving them a convenience of coming to our platform and booking the services through us while being very, very transparent. But I would like to mention that, being disruptive is also, good term to have it. But, disruptive is a very, very vast term, right? So probably one can be disruptive in terms of, changing the business models, changing the way the people travel, changing the way, somebody looks at the businesses, changing the way the people really looks at the growth, changing the way the people really, burns their money and then probably, thinks that they probably would not get the growth which they expected. So I think the disruption is actually a very, very vast model. And you rightly mentioned that, probably I think that in the coming years or probably currently the new startups which have been coming up. So there are many more startups which I'm also, probably meeting and I'm also, investing personally into them. So I see that a lot of people have been started thinking aloud on the disruption models. So that is where I also would wanted to add that, yeah, you're right that, the people who probably may be irrational can be a winner. But I personally also feel that, you would have to have a base business model with you. Like, I've met a lot of new founders, right? They would want to do something disruptive, but in their mind, the only thing which is that I would want it to be disruptive. And, you probably meet maybe hundreds of such startups and probably everybody will say that they are doing something disruptive in their own industry. So just an advice from my end to those people who wanted to do something different is that they should have one base model to support their disruption, right? So they would wanted to have something wherein they would probably innovate. Otherwise, they will probably just turn blank and they will probably go away from the market in few years. So that is what I would wanted to mention, that any startup who would probably be getting into the business. So disruption is good to have, but I think they should need to have one parallel model, working along with that, so as they support their growth and they support the basic needs of the company.
Totally.
Yashish, coming to you for the final word on today's discussion, and really in the context of what you just said about transforming the country and the potential that India has compared with fully mature and developed markets. So, is the startup revolution in India just gotten started?
It's just gotten started. There is too much capital in the world. Not even 0.01% of the capital in the world has been invested in the startup revolution of India. I won't call it, and it's only started. Trust me, I've been watching it for the last 14 years. I've always thought I'm being rational. I have not believed in many things that have been going on, that why are they happening? But as I said, not even 0.01% of the capital of the world has come in here, and this could be 10% of the world's potential over the next 30, 40 years. So if your potential versus capital is still at a 1:10,000, while we are here, I think we have to just step back and kind of either believe in the opportunity or not believe in the opportunity. If the opportunity is there, we will have more and more irrational investments. We will have more and more capital flowing in. And we will have out of every few will turn out to be a winner, and that winner will be big.
And just to add up here, I think that there is $63 billion which has been invested by different private equity firms and different venture capitalists in 2021. So there was in total 42 unicorns in India in 2021, and out of these 42 unicorns, I think 16 or probably some of the unicorns which have been there have been planning to do their IPO in 2022. So I believe, yes, as Mr. Yashish also mentioned, that there is a lot of potential in Indian startups. And I believe that the sky would be the limit for the startups to be here in India and to thrive their businesses.
Absolutely. And that's a very positive note to end this session on. Thank you very much, Yashish Dahiya and Shrikant Pitti, for your time. With that, it's a wrap on this session.
If you like the video, do like, comment, share and subscribe.